Hi, welcome to Inkscape for Teachers. I'm Geoff Phillips. In this tutorial I'll show you how to make a simple sphere for inclusion in tests and worksheets. So let's start with a blank canvas. One comment I should make, I've put this in the notes from previous videos, but I should have said it as well. To get the view that I've got, or the workspace, where the icons are mainly up in this area, I went to View Custom. I prefer that view, that's more convenient for me. Also, I get rid of the page border. I just like to have a clear space, and that's probably appropriate when you're demonstrating to a class as well. I go to File, Document Properties, I remove the page border here. Okay, let's get started. First select the Circle and Ellipses tool, and holding down Control Shift we can drag out a sphere. Now, a couple of things to notice. If I click on the Select tool, a couple of things to notice. I think I've got a dotted line around this circle, and I've filled the circle black. Well, first of all, I'll get rid of the fill by just clicking the red cross in the white square down here. Yes, and I have got a dotted line, which I don't want. I want a solid line, so I'll go to my Stroke and Fill menu. If you haven't got that, you can click this this icon up here, or Control Shift F. I'm just going to select the solid line up here. 0.5 of millimetre is a good width, I think. You can see that under Stroke Style. Set that if you need to. Now, before we do anything else, I'm going to convert this circle into a path that is more editable than just the circle as it's created now. So go to Path, Object to Path. Now, if you click on the Nodes tool here, or N for Nodes, you can see there are 4 nodes, which gives me more edit control later on. Back to the Select tool, I'm going to go Control D to duplicate, then click one of the handles up here, and holding down Shift, I'm going to shrink down to about there. Now, you'll notice that that's also shrunk my stroke width there. It was 0.5. So I think that's controlled up here, this icon up here. When scaling objects, scale a stroke. I don't want that, so I'll take that off, and I'll go Control Z to start that again. Now I'll click and hold down the Shift key and drag, and you can see that's a thicker stroke, and yes, over here if I click on it again, it's 0.5 still. If you don't have the strokes the same width, that can create problems over here. If you have a thicker stroke for the inner circle, looks like an ellipse but it's actually a circle, it can stick outside the perimeter of the front circle. Okay, now let's just click the outer circle again, Control Duplicate once again, this time Control Shift, and I'm shrinking down this to produce a centre point. That's a bit big, but if I hold Control and mouse wheel to zoom in, and just mouse wheel and move the mouse to pan, and Control Shift to continue to shrink that down. It's probably enough. I can shrink it a bit more by removing the stroke, Shift and click the red cross there, and fill in the dot there. Now Control mouse wheel to zoom a bit more up to there, click off. That dot looks about right, so that's a pretty good sphere. One thing that's not quite right, or a bit annoying, is that the back of this shouldn't be solid really, it should be dotted, but it's all part of one. We can't just change it to dotted, the whole lot would be dotted. So I'm going to select it, and then click the Nodes tool, then click the left node on that elliptical looking circle, Shift to select the other one, this 4th icon along here, break path at selected nodes. It actually it's broken it, but it's still grouped, so I have to ungroup as well. Select tool, path, break apart, which is really ungrouping in this instance. You can see there are 2 selection rectangles now. Click off and just select the back one. Then under Stroke Style over here, I'm going to change it to dashes. You want them fairly separated. Some of these you can't really tell that they're dashed lines, so I'll come down to something like this. Click off, and there's a pretty good view of the sphere. Now you can add arrows and dimensions and that sort of thing. I'll continue to do that here using the Bezier pen tool. I'll click that and just get it roughly in position. Perhaps if I start a bit above the centre, hold down Control to force vertical, perhaps to there, double click, whoops, so I moved before I double clicked, Control Z, I'll start again, click, Control, I might just click and enter, that's better, click off, and yeah, now that's a bit of a thinner stroke, but I might leave that since it's not the main diagram, thin's okay. I'll put an arrowhead on that, I think it's this one down here, yep, that'll do for now. Select the whole object, Control D to duplicate, then I'm going to reflect that in a horizontal axis and Control Shift to drag it down to about there. Now to make sure things are lined up, I'm going to group the sphere, so drag a marquee around that and group it, Control G to group. Now while that's selected, I'll hold down Shift and select the top arrow. Under my Align and Distribute menu, which you can bring up by clicking this icon here, I'm going to click Line Tops, and under this one I'm going to Shift click here. I should have said make sure you've got last selected. I want this aligned with the last selected, which is the sphere. Again, I'll align the bottoms and the arrow moved there, and look, that gap may or may not be big enough for a pronumeral. You can control and drag that up a little bit, or control and drag that down a little bit. Perhaps I should have done that before. Click on the text tool, click somewhere over here and click perhaps D for diameter, select tool, and if I click off and then double click it, it lets me edit it, so I'll highlight that. It says you bring up another menu. I can then see the font up here. I'm going to change it to Times New Roman. I can use the mouse wheel to scroll to Times New Roman and make it italic, and it looks a bit small, so I might bump that up to 20 point, something like that. Click the select tool and drag it into position. Hold then the Shift key to select both arrows. I'm just going to align those along a vertical axis by clicking here. Didn't really move it much, I must have had it pretty good. And maybe I'll distribute the vertical gaps evenly by pressing this icon. You can see the D came down a little bit. And there's my completed sphere. That completes this tutorial. Thanks for watching.